I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
Oh no, it's Audio Problems Podcast. No one will know this because all of the other stuff will be removed, but you know, Pepper's Farm will remember. This is Distracted Gamers Podcast. We've got so much to talk about. I'm going to let Jason say some things as I make slight edits on the YouTube channel.
Sounds great. So I went to a national park this week. My kids had spring break off, so we, as did I. So we went to a national park, did some hiking, had a good time. I came across, so I instead of staying at a hotel, what I did was I went on Vrbo and found a place where we could, this couple, I guess, was renting out their basement as an apartment, which was really nice. It was really well furnished and appointed and really clean, really nice backyard and everything. So it was definitely a step up from a hotel, but it cost about the same amount that you would pay for a hotel. So for me, it was like, this is a no-brainer. It was a lot more comfortable. But anyway, they had Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi and a television and all that stuff. So we went hiking and then we come back, we're getting dinner and we're, bored. So we turn on the TV, pay for a hotel. And for me,
Keep going.
okay. I had a weird echo in my ear there. I came across a show called CPO Sharkey. It stands for Chief Petty Officer Sharkey. And it was Don Rickles. Back I don't know, the 70s I think is when it was. It was refreshingly un-PC. Refreshingly un-PC. The thing is that he's one of the original insult comics, and so that obviously made it into this show. And the thing is that he insulted everybody. He was in charge of basic training for a bunch of Navy recruits, and it didn't matter anything about the recruits. If they screwed up, he insulted them. And it was so nice to actually see a show that was actually trying to be funny, as opposed to trying to check boxes. Yeah, this show wouldn't fly today. But the thing is that instead of singling anyone out, they went out of their way to make sure that it was like the reverse DEI kind of thing, where we're checking boxes to see who we can insult. It's like, yeah, we got this guy, so we can't insult him again. So we got to insult this other guy. So they had a wide cast of characters. They had black guys. They had a guy who was Jewish. They had a guy who was Polish. They had a guy from Puerto Rico, so he was Hispanic. And it didn't matter, he would get in all their faces and be insulting to each of them about their history and their background and everything. And it was like,
that was kind of the point of Don Rickles anyway.
Yes, it was.
As he has racial jokes and makes fun of you.
Yeah. But the thing is, one of the things that you could tell about the way he did comedy was that it was never personal. You know, it was always he's doing it to be funny.
Well, I
He
suppose
wasn't
that's
doing it to be mean.
the question when it comes to racial comedy, which I'm not really, but then again, it's like I'm aware or of stuff being funny, but it's always like exaggerated cliches, and it's always the line
Yes.
between you're trying to be malicious or you're trying to be, it's sort of general funny where people poke fun at each other. I used to have I mean, it sounds like a cliche, but he was very black friend when I worked at Walmart years ago. And his name was Oluwase, so he was very African. And he used to say white guy stuff all the time, which was hilarious, and I didn't care. But, you know, que sera, sera, everybody's got to be sensitive about everything.
I had a friend who would always call me Cracker. The thing is that one time I looked at him and I straight up said, "Dude, you're whiter than I am," and he says, "That's why I can call you Cracker." Like, okay.
Well, it's either all the comedy is permissible or none of it is. If we're deciding that we can't make these, and policing language is the where I have the big problem. I mean, you can be rude and offensive, but I don't want language to be controlled. We're going down the freedom of speech purist sort of stance I tend to have on these things. Regardless, I did a bunch of stuff, and there's a bunch of stuff to talk about. Oh, wait, hold on.
She's here.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's Silver.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
I knew you'd like it.
She's here.
Oh no. And I timed the cat mouth with the roar.
Oh yeah, me.
Man. How's it going, champ? How was school, bro?
Oh, I'm hating life.
Yeah, welcome to college student given too much to do and not enough time to do it.
Uh-huh. Don't you love it when you take a math test and they give you the wrong grade because they didn't tell you or specify round to this many decimal places?
That's so, yeah. That's so annoying.
Yeah, those minor things are what'll kill you on tests. I think I had a final once where there was a whole second part that I wasn't aware of.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I still did fine in the class, and the professor was like, but yeah, there was a whole second half of it. And I had to like make up later, so I'm like by myself in a proctored room, and I wasn't aware that. I'm now recalling the late nights of reading an entire book the night before. Not because I was procrastinating, because I didn't have enough time. So are you done?
Please, teachers out there, specify, if you will. If you want me to round to 4 decimal places, say that.
Good job.
My gosh.
I mean, if the teacher told you that at the beginning of the class, it was like, look, whenever you do any homework, I always want you to round to 4 decimal places, and then you screwed up and didn't do it on the test, that's understandable. But if that was never articulated in any way, and then on the test you're like, well, it looks better to round to the 10th, then yeah, that's on the teacher.
Yeah, so some of the assignments are like, make sure to round to 3. Oh, I'm like, okay. And I've always rounded to 3. But then all the practice tests I've been doing, it's like, no, that's wrong. You have to round to 4. And so on the actual test, some of them are rounded to 3, some are rounded to 4. You don't know which ones are which.
Okay, in that case, yeah, the teacher needs to, with anytime you need to round to an X number of places, it needs to be understood in the instructions.
Yeah, and preferably when you
problem.
open up the stupid test, it should say in the description before you click begin, please round to 3 decimal places.
Seriously.
Instead of going in there and it's like, okay, 3 decimal places, this one's 4. This one's 2 just for the heck of it. 4 again.
Forget it.
You just gotta
that's
guess.
definitely on the teacher.
Well, despite the material being more difficult, you'll find that your professors are not really smarter.
What? How dare you?
It's true. They're just as stupid as they were before. Yeah. Special day.
I believe
special
it, and I'm
podcast.
pissed.
A few things. I don't know if you guys have heard Frostpunk.
Frostpunk, yes.
It was on sale this
No.
last week on Steam because of the spring sale, and I got it. It's made by the same people that made, was it This War of Mine? Something like that. Which is a great game. It's sort of you micromanage people trying to survive a horrific war where everybody's running out of food and everything's horrible. And I really enjoyed that game. And it was depressing in this vague, maybe Eastern European, who knows, as sort of like the ability to get food reasonably sort of goes out and you have to go scavenge and then it becomes more dangerous. It's really interesting, depressing theme that it gives to it. Well, they came out with a game that's kind of a city builder, same company, called Frostpunk. And you might go, oh, like a steampunk or whatever. Yeah, just basically the world is freezing and we're all going to die and you have to build a city to survive. That's sort of the point of the game. Where it's like, instead of building a cool sim city, like with, transportation and trying to make it bigger, you're basically racing against the clock before a storm comes and kills everyone. So you're desperately trying to build the city big enough and fast enough with enough heat to survive. And it's like, vaguely the world is freezing. I've heard suggestions that it could have been caused by an in-game lore where you find little bits of information. Well, no, it actually, potentially it could be a volcano that messed up the electromagnetic sort of screen around the planet where it's not allowing heat in from the sun. And also I saw a scientific blurb in the story where some scientists were suggesting that the sun is just colder, that maybe it's burning out and everyone's dying. But yes, it's the apocalypse and a great storm is coming. Just to give you an idea of how cold sort of the world gets, it's like 120 below Celsius at the worst, which is like 260 some odd Fahrenheit, which is just like you're dead instantaneously. I think the coldest ever recorded on Earth was like 90 Celsius. So it's really bad. and the reason why I'm bringing this up is I've had a lot of fun with it because it's the type of game where instead of just building a city, there's a degree of anxiety to it. And there's a lot of planning because it's like I have to have better houses that have better insulation. Because the whole city is built around one heat generator in the center of the game. And you have to improve it and get it so it's stronger, and you have to get coal to fuel it. And then you have to get wood to do other things. And then it's sort of a snowballing of like, as you get bigger, your needs get bigger, the problem gets bigger, to the point where one of the funnest, most stressful experiences you'll ever experience in the game is like your first playthrough, where practically everybody dies and you make it to the end. Where just everybody's frozen to death and you're, oh well. And they did come out with the Frostpunk 2, which I have, which was also on sale. Which is apparently a completely different game. It doesn't play like the other one, and it's a different kind of city builder. Huh. Where it's more based off of politics and the degenerating society trying to keep stuff together. It's a lot of fun. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I played a lot of it, and I had a lot of fun. And it's really cheap on Steam. And if you're into these sort of city builders with a bit of stressful apocalypse attached to it, I would recommend it. Despite that, I have Daredevil put down for later. The writing's really bad on this last episode. It's like Hollywood doesn't know how to write anymore. And it's really disappointing. Bad dialogue, poorly written messaging, characters that are confusing with how they act. Like, they had this psychiatrist where this guy, the supervillain captures, and he cuts her with a scalpel deep down her arm, doesn't scream, doesn't whimper, doesn't make a face, and then when she struggles with him later, she headbutts him. And I was like, a psychiatrist? Really? Really? And she has some of the worst written dialogue in the... Why? Why do you have to ruin everything we love? Daredevil's face for my icon is very disappointed in you.
Sorry to tell you, but big scalpel does not affect strong, independent woman.
I forgot.
Oh yeah, that's right. She has no.
Yeah, don't you remember?
I have scalpel
Definitely
immunity.
like
me, Superwoman.
Woozy from blood loss would be like, oh yeah, headbutt.
Loser. And a bit of personal note, which we don't often, well, I guess Jason's someone, we don't often talk about personal stuff. I had some fun experiences. I went to the emergency room on Sunday. It was a lot of fun.
You're feeling like you were gonna tour. You needed a tour.
No, I've heard of it.
Well, that's because no one's talking about it. I was having chest pain and I didn't know what it was, and I laid on my side, and then my whole side of my arm got numb. And I was like, oh no, it could be a heart attack. I don't know. So my mom ends up talking me into going, more or less because I'm worried about long term as opposed to, it'll pass sort of thing. Right. I couldn't sleep. And I go and they do. And it's weird to walk up to a desk and be like, so I might be having a heart attack. I don't know. But there's no sort of like rush to it. They do the cardiogram. They take my blood. They take a chest x-ray. Nothing wrong with me. So good news is I'm extremely healthy, and there's no like, there's no like 10, like my dad has diabetes, but there's no like diabetic issue, and there's no, they found no issues with my heart whatsoever, and they had nothing in my blood like cholesterol or whatever. I'm perfectly healthy. I've gained a bit of weight lately, which is all probably related to just being stressed out lately. So it's probably mostly psychological, but it felt very real. So I don't know, but it was a fun experience.
So you didn't go in there and say, yeah, I was laying on my side, kind of went numb, and they didn't go, well, just don't do that.
Well, see, my doctor said that. I told that to my doctor, but he said it usually doesn't happen because I didn't sleep on it. Because he's like, sometimes you wake up. He's like, no, I laid down, and 5 seconds later, my whole arm just went goofy. And he's like, oh, well, it's usually not that immediate. And I was like, yeah. So unless I pitched a nerve and was having a panic attack. And that's the funny thing with me. Even if I were having a panic attack, I don't show it on my face. So it's just I'm feeling weird as opposed to like I'm shaking and screaming and upset at stuff. Like, that's not
do
how
you
I
also stone
respond.
face?
Yeah, I do stone. So it's like I could be feeling
Heck
fine,
yeah.
but I feel internally something weird. It's just I don't react to it, sort of thing. And I've always been aware, believe it or not, and I don't show it, is the funny thing. I've always had some sort of anxiety issue. It's like at church, we do talks and stuff. And I always used to be like, I'm really nervous, but screw it. Everybody does this. This is normal. Despite the fact that, like, and then it sort of passes after you do it. But it's like later on in life, I've finally realized keenly that it's like, oh yeah, there's probably something there. I've just always been able to push it aside.
Dang.
So yeah, I've always been able to deal with it just fine, and I don't show it. But yeah, heart rate goes up really quickly. I get anxious before stuff. Me and Jason do martial arts. I always get really anxious, but then it sort of passes with the adrenaline and the. But I don't show it
that,
on my face. Is the thing.
Right. I was going to say, so it's one of those things that I think that we are not really very good at in teaching. Is that anything can give you anxiety, and it can be something that you've done 100 times. You can still get anxiety from it. They talk a lot about, for kids, test anxiety and stuff. And I just think that we have become less and less equipped to deal with any anxiety. And so we have these reactions, and we don't know what they are, and we don't know how to handle them anymore.
And life comes rushing in sometimes. So it was a weird experience.
Yeah.
Not exactly the fun stuff we usually talk on this podcast, or at least the stuff we scream about because we don't like. That being what?
I could complain about the healthcare system.
I mean,
if you want to.
it's just kind of funny. There's a history of, cancer in her family and stuff. And so my doctor recommended I get screened. So I have to call up another place to say, hey, I got an order for my doctor to get screened. And they immediately just come back and tell me, it's like, well, your parents don't have cancer.
but that doesn't mean
We're not going to screen you. And I'm like, but there's history. That's why I'm getting screened. Well, no. Your parents don't have cancer. Your parents don't actively have cancer. So, and you're too young, so we're not going to do it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Baby cancer.
That is pretty dumb.
Usually
it helps so much more to catch the cancer sooner rather than later. I had a melanoma removed from my shoulder. I actually went to the dermatologist and was like, hey, I have concern about this one mole. And he's like, oh, that's nothing. But this one right here, we need to get it checked out. So it was a completely different one. And it turns out it was cancerous. They went in and cut it out and everything. But it was so early in its development that they got it out, and it's gone completely. So because I got it checked so soon in its development, I didn't have to do anything other than they went in, they cut it out. It hadn't grown, it hadn't gone deep into my skin, nothing. So that's stupid that they're like, yeah, you're too young and we're not going to check. It's like, well, we kind of have a family.
Well, this reminds me of
history, so let's do it.
This reminds me of that TikTok or whatever from that Canadian that was like, it was a treatment for like a tumor or something. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I have this treatment set up where I have to go in and get it checked out. but they have me scheduled for the next for the next time they're available in like 2026.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh.
And that is one of the bad things about socialized medicine that nobody ever addresses.
We're not here to talk about that. The point was that it's like, oh, because of Canada and the scarcity, it felt like Silver's complaint with the, oh, we don't need to do that would be a Canada response. Whereas America's usually like, yeah, we can get you in and do it right now. It's just going to cost you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. They're like, you're too young to die. We'll wait till you're actively dying, and then we'll talk.
Then we'll screen you and tell you that you've got cancer.
I know. I even like on the phone was like, hey, but what if I actually get it and I come to you and you're like, oh, you should have gotten screened. And be like, that's your fault.
Well, entropy is a thing that we all will experience. Believe it or not, every person who's ever been on Earth will die. We're all just slowly heading in that direction. Even when some of us delusionally believe that they won't, and then abuse their bodies until it all comes crashing down around us. And unfortunately, we did lose
about death and taxes.
We did lose a perfect angel this week with Val Kilmer. Mr. I'll Be Your Huckleberry, as well as Batman. He was also in The Island of Dr. Moreau, that crazy film where the filming, the story behind filming The Island of Dr. Moreau was probably more entertaining than the actual movie.
Yeah, probably. I remember watching that movie. It was boring.
Well, no, like
Iceman, no.
Iceman, yeah.
At CinemaCon,
True genius.
At CinemaCon, Tom Cruise actually had a moment of silence for Val Kilmer, who had like a neck cancer or something like that, which got over it. And I think he died of pneumonia.
Cancer. Yeah, he had like 2 tracheotomies and wasn't in good shape. So yeah, it makes sense. Pneumonia would really do a number. And
usually when you get these pretty boy actors, they're not actually that good an actor, but Val Kilmer could act. That's the funny part.
Yeah.
Doc Holliday's really entertaining.
Yes, he is.
He's my favorite character ever.
I was going to say, he did have a reputation of being a bit of a diva sometimes. But I don't know. Some of it
young actors that were super hot right now is not unexpected, but he kind of got over that later.
Yeah.
There
was one movie that he was in with Elizabeth Shue, if I remember right, that I really liked. He played like her brother, and he had some developmental issues. I remember it being a pretty good movie.
The Saint is really good. Kind of a Mission Impossible
That's what I was going to think of. Yeah.
Sort of thing. But Val Kilmer was great, and he will be missed. It reminds me of the drama that he had with Tom Cruise on the set of Top Gun. They actually, specifically the two of them, refused to talk to each other except when they're doing scenes. And what that did is created this weird amount of tension because they didn't know each other. And it ended up creating this idea that they just didn't like each other, like they hated each other. So whenever they were on scene, there was a tension because they just wouldn't talk outside of filming. Which actually kind of worked for it because there was kind of this like, oh, screw you.
They had that antagonistic relationship where they were constantly trying to one-up each other. And I think hearing that, I'd heard before that there were some actors and actresses who had done that on set. I didn't realize that Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise were one of the...
well, that's one of the more famous ones, famous stories of that. The Island of Dr. Moreau, he was hot off of Batman, and he was really into Man. And there was this drama with the director who had this crazy dream of what he wanted for the film. And they were taking forever, and the costs were going up. And Marlon
Brando's
Well, he's notoriously difficult to work with. But removing all of the
Yes.
difficulty with filming, because there's a whole movie worth of stories of how bad that filming was. They end up removing the director, who didn't leave the island and was camping out nearby and like watching the production as they brought in a classic Hollywood director who's just like, we're getting this damn thing done. We're going to film it. We're going to finish it. And he just shoved that movie out as the new guy to replace him. But the previous director
that
had
is so
trouble
funny.
letting go and was like camping in the jungle nearby. Like it was weird. And then there was a scene where people he knew that worked for makeup dressed him up as one of the monsters, and he snuck on set and was behind, like in the background on some of the scenes. Like Island of Dr. Moreau is one of the craziest movies. It's a weird movie. And then watch the documentaries about that movie because it's insane. But yeah, Val Kilmer's in that as sort of like the hunter man with the hot half human, half animals that shouldn't exist. The horrors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
As I recall, with Marlon Brando, he did weird things like that when he was on set. So like on The Godfather, he found a cat and incorporated it in that one scene.
Because Marlon
It was
Brando's
just
a weirdo.
A cat on the lot.
It's not just
Apparently he wanted to have a midget. In
well,
the
right,
Island
for
of
Island of Dr. Moreau.
So they got a
Jason,
midget.
this is not new news. Marlon Brando, when he did
I know.
Apocalypse Now, was so messed up and overweight and fat that when they brought him in finally, they couldn't use him for anything. So they had him in the dark with like cast shadow over just his head while he was doing these insane monologues. All sweaty and stuff. The Marlon Brando's a psycho. There were stories of him being reclusive at his house and not wanting people to be let in, but ordering McDonald's. So the guy that would bring the McDonald's to his house had to throw the burgers over the wall. He's just hucking them over the wall so that Marlon Brando could recover them on the other side. This is Marlon Brando. Also a very good actor, also insane.
Yeah.
But people who get to the height of fame always have these weird drama psychology things. It's like Michael Jackson. He was weird. He lacked the ability to even understand basic human interactions. They actually set up a thing where they completely shut down a grocery store and filled it with people he knew so he could experience walking around like a normal person and shopping. He just lacked the capacity to understand the story where Kevin Smith talks about knowing Prince and how Prince doesn't understand the real world or what real people are like, where he would call in at like in the middle of the night and want to have a zebra. And they're like, we can't get you a zebra, right? He's like, well, I don't understand. And it's like, well, they're not from this part of the world. I don't know if it's legal to own one. We'd have to find one that's available. But like it's this whole series of when you get to a certain degree of fame and you're so disconnected from an average person because you can't walk around like a normal person, a lot of these people just disconnect from society in some weird psychological way, become insane, which is why Hollywood people are so insane anyway. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
They lack the capacity to understand. I mean, videos during COVID where everybody was falling apart, the world was crashing down around them. Nobody could go to work. Nobody could get money. People were going to lose their apartments. And then Madonna does a video laying in a pool of like milk or something, saying that we just need to band together in her mansion. She's like, just stay home. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's so easy for you to say stay at home when you've got a mansion to live in, where some people are living in
to go to work,
living in boxes for months and they had nowhere else to go. Patton Oswalt had one of the worst like connections between takes when it came to COVID, where he was lambasting people for being horrible and killing people, implying that you're a bad person if you go out. And even going out to get groceries, and what you need to do is just order in like Uber Eats or whatever sort of order in food. And it's like, First of all, most people can't afford that. Second of all, that still means someone has to go around and deliver this stuff. Isn't that some sort of like disease delivery system, if you will?
Yeah.
It's so disconnected to say, well, just spend extra money and get it ordered to your house. We don't have extra money. And that's always the problem that people don't understand when it comes to increase in taxes or stuff that affects the economy or even minor stuff. Do you know what that does? Is it affects average people, because average people notice small increases in price or small increases in taxes. When stuff like that happens to wealthy people, they don't notice because it doesn't mean anything to them.
Right. An extra $10,000, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't even make a dent in their wallet.
No. Regardless, Hollywood is weird, and they always tend to be weird. It's full of degenerate, messed up people. I always thought, I always had this thought where it's like, if you stood before a group of people in Hollywood, like at the Oscars or something, you would probably be standing in front of a higher percentage of people who have committed rape, if you will, or sexual assault, if you will, than the average population if you were to be in front of a group of people from Hollywood.
What really makes it weird is that, a lot of these people, Michael Jackson didn't come from money. Yeah,
but he came from
he
fame.
got into showbiz really early.
It wasn't just, he was famous as a child.
That's true. And that could be part of the problem. But, some of these people in Hollywood, they were just normal people like everyone else. And now they're, and then they get famous and somehow it turns into, don't you know who I am? It's like, well who cares?
I'm sure there are normal people in Hollywood. But I think the average person who ends up being elevated to the fact that they are a celebrity, whether it's music or movies or whatever, they're probably not normal people when they're younger. They're probably attention-seeking, young kids, self-absorbed. Look, Jim Carrey seems to have he seems to be a lot more collected person now than he was some time ago. But if you see him talk about him as a kid, he was always kind of that spastic kid who made faces and did voices and wanted attention. And it's like, those people always aspire to Hollywood. They're always weird when they're young, or they're always attention seeking when they're young. It's like, oh, I love to sing and I always want to be in front of people. And that doesn't guarantee you're going to be in Hollywood, but you better be really into that if you're going to be.
Very true.
That being said, a lot of stuff has been going on. We have been hit with Jason's news in the background. We've been hit with, first of all, CinemaCon is hit. And CinemaCon is basically this big movie convention where they talk about new movies coming out and they pitch stuff. It's usually sort of an industry insider sort of event.
Okay.
And there were some interesting things to learn about CinemaCon. And I'm going to spin this into movies in general. First of all, the announcements. That is not the one I'm looking for. Here we go. News. No one is talking about that horrible monster that needs to stay dead. All right. So CinemaCon had a bunch of announcements. We got and we will talk about it. We got a CinemaCon revealed a trailer for CinemaCon. It's not on YouTube yet, but people have recorded it. So some people have leaked images, and if you really try, you might be able to find it. But YouTube is copyrighting anything anyway. So the biggest news from CinemaCon: Spider-Man 4 has been announced, and it's called Brand New Day. Sweet. Spider-Man
Alright.
Beyond the Spider-Verse. Now, everybody expected another Spider-Man movie, Spider-Verse movie, which I hate them.
Yeah.
The one thing that surprised everybody is the date was pushed back, I think, by a year, which nobody was expecting. Another surprise is we are getting a John Wick 5, which everybody expected was going to
Animated?
happen. And apparently we're getting an animated prequel. Yeah, we're getting an animated prequel. Another Hunger Games movie. Nobody cares. Hunger Games sucks. The Beatles
When you're
movie.
looking at lists like this, do you ever just look at some of these and go, who asked for that?
Well, and see, that's the point. The point is Hollywood really sucks. And we're going to get into that, but we'll go through the announcements really quick. The Beatles movie, live action movie for Zelda 2027. Another final, yeah, they're gonna ruin it. Another Final Destination. James Gunn's Superman. There is a new preview for Superman with extra footage and whatnot. We had a screening for Minecraft movie, which is out now. Extended look at Jurassic World Rebirth, which the Jurassic World movies suck. Five Nights at Freddy's 2. 1 was pretty good for the cheapness of the movie. It was pretty good. It was my understanding that How to Train Your Dragon kind of stole the show. It sort of dominated CinemaCon. First looks at Wicked Part 2.
This is one of the things that I added to the news dump, but I think I want to address it here just real quick because it says that there's a sequel already in the works for How to Train Your Dragon. It hasn't even come out yet.
Well, that's
And they're already expecting it to do well enough that it's going to get a sequel.
It's a children's movie. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's a children's movie. It's like, we'll talk about it, but nobody expected the Minecraft movie to be good. Everybody expected to make a lot of money. Because it's a kid's movie.
I guess that's true.
yeah.
The next James Bond film is said to be a fresh and exotic new chapter. That's not a good sign.
No, that's not.
That's not a good term there.
No. Running Man remake.
Huh, interesting.
I
mean,
Running Man's fine.
the
It could do
original
for a
Running
remake.
Man-
For an artistic
Yeah.
sort of remake.
But-
yeah.
do you think they'll do any good with it?
Well, see there's a big difference between they could do a remake because the old one is very old and very dated, or they're going to do it justice. Those are two different things.
Yeah.
A remake could. It's
Very
like
true.
they don't really need to do a remake for Blade Runner. It's timeless. It
No, they don't.
works. It was filmed really well. But yeah, Running Man could have a remake. Let's see, Scream.
Running Man is cheesy fun.
Right. Scream 7, Sonic 4, Airbender movie.
That's too bad.
Let's see, preview of Avatar. I read an article where somebody was like, "Oh, we got a new Avatar movie coming out. Despite the fact it makes huge amounts of money, can anyone name any of the Na'vi or any character in the Avatar movies?" And I'm like, "No, I can't."
No.
New Predator movie, first footage of Tron, etc., etc. So we have big news, big announcements, lots of stuff going on. You might ask yourself, "Oh, great, big news coming from Hollywood. This is a great sign." Now, I've got an article from Variety, which I'm going to go over, that talks about what's going on in Hollywood, which also is formatted. So CinemaCon is supposed to be celebrate the magic of the big screen and the power of the cinematic experience. Instead, this year's Las Vegas gathering was tense, testy affair that threatened to resurface old tensions between studios and exhibitors. All of the frustrations of the past 5 years, during which a pandemic and 2 labor strikes left the movie theater business a pale shadow of itself, nearly boiling over. One massive flaw in this analysis is it also left the movie industry barren because they're making bad movies. So pandemic and 2 strikes and also bad movies being produced. But let's move on. 2025 has been positioned as the movie theater industry's grand return to the glory days, with cinema operators and Hollywood promising that a wave of superhero sagas, star-driven vehicles, and fantasy adventures would reinvigorate ticket sales. Instead, revenues are down 10% from 2024. And the likes of Snow White and Mickey 17 have flopped at the box office. You were going to say something, Jason?
Yeah, I was going to ask if they admitted that the movies that were being released were bad in the article, or if they were just saying,
but they have some interesting things to say.
Okay.
Studios believe that exhibitors haven't done enough to innovate. They think too many venues are outdated, and cinema operators haven't embraced discount prices to entice cost-conscious consumers. Theater owners argue that their business have been hurt by studios insisting on releasing new films on home entertainment within a few weeks of their theatrical debuts, and they'd like a lot more movies. Yeah, it's not the movie experience that is keeping people away from the movies.
So, on the one hand, yes, that does hurt the cinemas if you're releasing the movie and then the next week you're releasing it on streaming at home. Why would I go to a movie if I can just wait a week and watch it at home? There is no incentive for me to go and watch the movie at the theater. I'm already paying for streaming. Why should I then pay again to go watch it? But at the same time, it's like it always seems that whenever we see articles like this, no one ever addresses the elephant in the room. They're always it's these other people's fault. It's the fault of the movie theaters, and they're outdated. It's like, well, if you were making movies that people wanted to go see, then the movie theaters would have money to reinvest and to update but if nobody's going to the movie theaters, then the movie theaters are losing money. They can't afford to update.
Well, they already, all of this is delusional, like coping, because despite the fact that we're going through 2 strikes and a big COVID thing, Hollywood was already eating shit before this. They were getting knee deep into a culture war that is going to ended up proving down the road, unpopular and damaging to their reputation. And while going knee deep into the culture war, they went through a process of gutting anybody who could write anything worth a darn. And we ended up producing bad movies overall. Bad writing, bad production, far too expensive, excessive media flops. And now that everything's going poorly, it's like, if it was, look, things would be better, but it would still be declining if you didn't have COVID and the 2 strikes. The worst possible time, because we were already talking about the decline of Hollywood before COVID hit. And then COVID hit, and it was like, oh, this is the best time for this. And then after COVID hit, and it wrecked the movie theaters for like a year or 2, then they had the nerve to drag Hollywood through 2 strikes, and they think that they're going to survive. You gut your industry in more than one way, and then you're all shocked when nobody wants to watch your content. Good Lord. Everybody is surprised by this. Anyway, back after COVID,
everybody in
and
Hollywood, all the rest of us are sitting there going, well, duh.
Back when we had COVID and then the 2 strikes, there was this phrase going around Hollywood where they would say "survive till 25," and it was a rallying cry from studio theater owners until they realized that the box office recovery remained around the corner, and "survive till 26" may not have the same ring, but it's a new goalpost in their quest for box office normalcy. There will be no normalcy. COVID ushered in the era of streaming,
good movies.
and the era of streaming dominated everything. And now streaming is where everybody's at. And the big tentpole movies, the big Marvel stuff, have had a dramatic decline in quality and are no longer carrying the theaters. The superhero boom is now in decline, and it's not keeping things together. We're getting a new Christopher Nolan movie. It's gonna suck. I'm not confident that he's gonna make a good movie. And I know people are like, oh, has he always made a good movie? Really? I mean, I find stuff interesting.
I can't say that.
In his movies, but Tenet? Really? And I'm going to be honest, Interstellar? Like it's all right. I don't find it mind-blowing. What, you had one emotional scene where suddenly his child is dramatically older, so he cries when looking at what happens to his kids when he's older. Yeah, that one scene is going to make up for the fact that his ability to travel through time in a wormhole is plucking strings in a giant galactic piano. You're going to tell me this is a good movie? It's full of itself and overly convoluted. And, well, it's like Inception. Inception's interesting for the gimmick, but after you think about it for 5 minutes, you're like, I mean, I don't know. How many levels of dream can you go down before you're like, this is really dumb? Back when Ellen Page was still a woman. Christopher Nolan's overrated. There, I said it. So was Quentin Tarantino. So was Quentin Tarantino. And Quentin Tarantino, which I didn't add it, but did you know we are getting a sequel to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, I know Quentin Tarantino flat out said that he Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is really good. I really liked it. I don't like most of Quentin Tarantino's movies. But he flat out said that he was only going to do one more movie. He's like firm on, I'm only going to do 10 movies in my lifetime.
Really?
So he's got one more movie to come out. So you might go, oh, is this his 10th movie? No. He wrote it.
No.
Brad Pitt is coming back to return to his role in it. We haven't heard whether or not Leonardo DiCaprio is going to be in it. And he's not directing it. So this is not his final directed movie. I guess this is how he escapes.
So he may, I mean, even after he gets done with his 10th movie, he still may be in the movie business. He just will be writing, maybe acting, but not behind
I've heard he talked about writing a book, or, I mean, he would do what he wants to. No, he doesn't know anybody anything. I think it's silly to put this weird arbitrary number to the amount of movies if you could still make good movies and people still want to watch it, then why not? He's just afraid he's going to be one of those, I want to leave. I've heard him talk about before. He wants to leave on a high note, and he doesn't want to be one of those people who are still trying to make movies when he's really old and they suck.
I mean, that does make sense. You know, it's one of those things where you leave a legacy that people appreciate, as opposed to, you know, people look at that and say, well, you should have quit after movie X. But the thing is there's no guarantee that his 10th movie is going to be the epitome of the movies that he's created. It could be a bomb.
Not all of his movies are that good.
Is he going to... Well, right. And then is he going to say, well, actually, I'm going to do an 11th movie because the last one didn't count? Because it wasn't as good as I thought it should have been.
Look, the only thing he should be asking himself is, am I passionate about the... It's not like he's ever done a movie where he didn't want to do it and it's just some schlock that he puts out for the studio. Every project he ever did was a passion project that he was really into. So there's no reason he can't just, oh, I'm just going to, I'm really passionate about this one. Just keep doing that until he doesn't have a movie that he's passionate about. There's no reason not to. But let's move on. I don't want to talk about Quentin Tarantino. He's overrated. I'm cynical about everybody you love. And we got the Minecraft movie, and with no one's surprise, it's doing really well in the box office. Theaters are full. Everybody wants to see Jack Black in Minecraft. Is it dumb? Is it big, dumb, stupid movie? Yes. Is it a giant movie that kids are gonna love? Absolutely. Big domestic opening weekend. Opening day was 58 million. Opening weekend's probably going to be quite a bit more. And it's doing huge.
That it drops off.
What? I don't care if people like it or if they enjoy it. Everybody expected this movie to do well.
That's not the reason behind it. I just think it's a terrible movie from what I've seen, from what I've heard. And I don't want it to do well because I want Hollywood to put out better movies. And
the problem is they could get away with it because it's a kids movie.
Kids movies should be quality too. The Super Mario movie was awesome.
Not perfect, but it was good.
A kids movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
yeah,
even kids movies should be quality.
It's doing really well. No one's surprised. Great movie. Well, not good movie, but Jason Momoa is weird in it.
Yeah.
It sure looks weird in it.
But this should be no shocker to anybody. It's a Minecraft movie. Minecraft is one of the most devastatingly, overwhelmingly played. Like, everybody's touched Minecraft.
Yeah.
Anybody can enjoy it. It's basically playing with Legos. It's your creativity is sort of your limitation. You build anything, you do anything. It doesn't require there's no story, so the fun you get out of it is the fun you put into it. And it can be played at any time, whenever you want to. Just pick up and go. And that's sort of the point of Minecraft. And it's got universal appeal where kids and adults can play it and play it together. Me and Silver
it's really one of those
have a big server where we've been making castles forever.
It's one of those few games where you can actually play it with, like, hey, I'm a gamer. I have really young kids. They can't play like Fortnite with me yet. They're just not advanced enough as players go. But we can both play Minecraft together.
A sticky kid can't play Bloodborne.
Get good, noob.
I was playing Bloodborne in the womb. Controller.
Can't play GTA. Gosh dang it. Guess we'll play Minecraft.
The Bloodborne. This is too much for you, kid. And ultimately, one of the bigger things to come out of CinemaCon was we got word of we've got new video and conversations around the new Fantastic Four movie. Sue Storm is pregnant in the movie.
That's weird.
I wonder if they're going to do something tragic where she loses it or whatever. We did see footage or images of the new female Silver Surfer, and I hate it because the Silver Surfer isn't a woman. It clearly gender swap. You go, no, she's in the comics. She's like, yeah, she's a side secondary character who was the girlfriend of the actual Silver Surfer. Which is why when we say female Silver Surfer, we have to imply it's not the normal Silver Surfer. Like nobody goes, oh, this is male. What's a good example? This is male Storm. It's like, what are you talking about? That's because the implication is Storm at her base is a girl. It's like this is male Phoenix. You have to say that because the natural state of the character is a woman. And that's why Silver Surfer being a girl is just pathetic pandering. Like there's no story reason besides we want it to be a girl because of political reasons. There's no story reason to justify it whatsoever. And I'm so sick of this. Will never be the Silver Surfer. But anyway, they got a lengthy trailer with a bunch of video showing them talking on it and whatnot. It's coming, and they're putting a lot of their eggs in the Fantastic Four basket, and the Fantastic Four were a big part of Marvel. They were the big part of Marvel that buoyed up Marvel Comics. We'll see where this goes. I heard mixed reactions, and that Pedro Pascal is no Mr. Fantastic. He doesn't fit. He doesn't look the part. Yeah. He doesn't fit the part. And I'm not even like doing the cliche like race swap. He has a lot of ambiguity where he can kind of ride the line between. He just doesn't look like Mr. Fantastic. Like Mr. Fantastic's got to be like a classic Hollywood pretty boy sort of thing.
Well,
like chiseled jaw, what's the gray hair on the side.
The gray, the temples, yeah. Kind of the silver fox thing.
Yeah.
And that's just not Pedro Pascal. Sure, he may be versatile as an actor, but he doesn't have the right look. No, he doesn't. And now that places us, with Superman. We got an extended view of Superman. Their view of Superman was slightly longer than ours. Now, they've been copywriting the crap out of people for playing this. So if you remember when the last trailer we got where Superman's all beat up laying in the snow. Right.
And then Crypto shows up. And then it gets really dumb. What we need. It gets really dumb. And Crypto jumps on him and makes a fuss. Now you might ask yourself, this is really weird and dumb. What's going on? Apparently, Crypto is trying to wake him up / stop him from going back and doing stuff that was getting him hurt. Also, because James Gunn is a narcissist, at CinemaCon, he sat there and told everybody. First of all, he started out his CinemaCon thing by being like, hello, Comic-Con, which is not where he was. And then he proceeded to tell a story about a rescue dog that was ornery because it had a difficult life and would bite his feet. And that's why Crypto's in it, because he's a narcissist. And he has to have Crypto in it because he had a dog.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, James, good call. These are the good decisions. It doesn't look good. And the other scene we get is they drag him to the Fortress of Solitude, where the robots have personalities and they talk to each other with attitude. And then at the very end, and I think I could do audio with this, they go to revive him by concentrating the sun on Superman. I don't know why it looks like it hurts. It's the sun. But whatever.
Vampire.
Superman doesn't look good. And I know somebody watching us talk about this might come to the conclusion that we're being overly dismissive. We haven't seen the movie yet. Well, I'm familiar with the character. See, here's the problem. James Gunn is the type of person that makes goofy character stuff. And I've said it before, but like him doing Swamp Thing makes sense to me. He likes the weird side characters. Apparently, when making Superman, he struggled with wrapping his mind around the hero. I don't understand how you can say that it's Superman. Perhaps you don't understand what it's like to just be a decently good person and not have any like personal doubts about what you're doing. But Superman shouldn't be difficult. He's just a good guy who wants to save people. He's inspiring. You can't wrap your mind around that crazy idea. You got to make it about your dog that bites your feet and put him in the movie. Crypto is the dumb, goofy part of superheroes. The reason why superhero movies started to do well and why they always struggled is, believe it or not, comic books and superheroes are silly. They're silly and goofy. Now, they can be serious, but Superman also had a horse and a cat. We gonna do that?
Did he?
I thought Supergirl was the one with the horse.
That's not the point, Jason. The point is that it's silly and it's stupid. And when superheroes started to get better, like look at the early superheroes, Spider-Man. Were we upset about the movie? Like, it had some silly in it, but it's because it was earnest. It took itself seriously. It took the characters seriously. It treated us like a real drama of people, what it would be like. That's why the early X-Men movies tried to pretend that they didn't wear costumes. They came out in leather outfits, and it was like this thing about mutation and being ostracized and racism allegories and whatnot. That's why all the early superhero stuff was trying to pretend not to be a superhero. It was trying to take itself seriously.
I did like that line from Cyclops in the first one where Wolverine says, you go out in public like this? And he says, what would you rather have? Yellow spandex? I really like that.
Well, right. And that's the point, is because superhero movies, that every time they've tried, were always dumb and silly. Because comic books are dumb and silly. I know those of you who are outside obsessed with comic books find it hard to admit this, but yes, they're very dumb and silly. Sure, Batman has had really great runs with very serious, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, Hush, great runs in the comic books that are very serious, and when they take Batman seriously. There are also periods of times where Batman's very silly. And it seems like James Gunn is really into the silly stuff. You know what I didn't need to see? A damn dog. I don't need the dog with a cape in it. Why? Why? Now we're suddenly getting Supergirl.
Cat with a cape.
Oh, Silver. But it's like, so now we're going to get Supergirl. We haven't even established Superman as a thing. Superman is supposed to be your origin. He's supposed to be your original. He's the one everybody looks up to. He's the standard. He is the hero for superheroes. He is essentially good and will do whatever it takes to be good and help people. And the fact that you can't understand that and what we're getting is dogs with capes tells me that you don't know what to do with this movie. That it's more about you and your weird proclivities. If this movie fails, it will set up a series of catastrophic issues with all of James Gunn's movies down the line. All of the stuff attached to this thing. I'm not convinced you can do a Batman worth a damn, let alone Superman. And we haven't seen this movie, but I'm telling you right now, it doesn't look good. And I really want it to look good. I really, really want a good Superman movie. And so we get James Gunn with Crypto the Wonder Dog jumping on Superman being silly. 'Cause whatever. Superman, remember dogs? No, I don't. It could also be worse in the other direction. We take it far too seriously where Superman's depressed and lets his dad die. That could be another conclusion. We could have Zack Snyder, who's so edgelordy that he doesn't even understand the characters in the other direction, where he just wants to change everything. Just make a movie about the character. It's like these directors and writers are so self-absorbed that they can't put themselves in the character's position, and so they make the movie about them or what they want. Zack Snyder wants gritty stuff where Batman is possibly like sexually abused in prison. That makes me sound insane, but he actually said that. In his movie, that's Batman would be raped in prison. As opposed to Superman, where it's now silly with dogs with capes, and we're getting a Batman called the Brave and the Bold. You're not built for this, James Gunn.
Like the cartoon?
No, yes, like the cartoon.
There are plenty of characters in comics that are quirky and weird that would be right up James Gunn's alley. Superman is not quirky and weird. He is a straight up Boy Scout as a superhero. Mm-hmm. That's what you got to do. You got to get someone who can basically come out and be a convincing, I am so overpowered, yet I am trustworthy, loyal, blah, blah, blah. You've got to do that for Superman. You've got to have him have hometown values.
He's like a America allegory. I mean, that's what he is.
Yes. Yes.
But, whatever. Which, and also we have Doomsday coming, which is an overblown 40-person film with everybody you've ever seen on a movie, and it's gonna suck.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be awful.
But you know what? I found an article from Variety which suggests on how to fix the movie theaters, because apparently CinemaCon there was a lot of stress and anxiety that things aren't going so well. And Variety, no, not the YouTube. There we go. Variety believes that texting during movies, weed, and sing-alongs are 4 ideas that will revitalize the movie industry.
Oh my gosh. So stupid. No.
Weed and sing-alongs.
That's not going to do it.
This is how we fix it, everybody.
You gotta get them high to enjoy this.
Well, getting them high might actually fix a lot of things, but the other two are ridiculous.
We want them dancing in the theater.
We want them to be like drunken sailors. They'll entertain themselves while the movie's playing.
Do you ever see that thing with Wicked where there was a movie theater that was having some technical problems, and one of the women in the theater got up and just started belting out one of the songs from Wicked, and everybody got angry with her because they're like, shut up. This movie's not about you. It's about the other narcissistic people on the film. But yeah,
you can't take their narcissism. It belongs to Hollywood. Give it back.
Light Up Profits, apparently the suggestion is they either allow them to smoke weed in the theater or sell it there recreationally. This is not going to go well. I know you and your friends are stupid pot smokers, but the rest of the country isn't. And you might go, oh, everybody doesn't. I guarantee you, much like smoking, it's probably 20%. Oh, that's low. I don't know anyone personally that smokes weed. And I'm in a part of the country that
Neither.
probably doesn't do it. So I guarantee you it's going to be a small percentage. And you do something like that, and it will more or less damage your theater than help it, because people will decide not to go to movies where there's weed smoke in the air. Despite the fact that it's unhealthy for people under the age of 24. So it would all have to be adults. You can't have younger people in the theater. Weed is, I think, deadly to dogs.
There's too many laws about smoking indoors anymore.
So yeah, good idea. Allowing people to text in the theater. I mean, people go
So
to the
dumb.
movie theater for the big screen experience or the collective group experience. There's places like Alamo Drafthouse that ban cell phones because they're obsessed about making sure that you have the movie theater experience that you're going to have. And they serve you food and whatnot. That's fine. But those are like specialty theaters that are encouraging you to come out and experience it and get a lot out of it.
I, for one, don't want to see other people's phones in their hand while I'm watching a movie.
I've only texted once during a movie.
That light is going to distract me from trying to watch the movie. I'm going to sit there the whole time thinking, put that away and enjoy the movie, you moron.
I did it during the Robin Hood, the last one with Matt Damon, because it sucked. It was a really bad movie. Yeah, these are the ways we can save the theater. Sing-alongs, encourage new audiences. This is always the flaw. The new audience thing, bringing new audiences with any industry.
Yeah.
Do you know why you're bringing up this? It's because you're scaring away your old audience. And the new audience isn't going to be big enough to replace them. This doesn't work. Fix it. Oh, we'll bring in new audiences. Oh, you mean a smaller demographic than the one that we're scaring away? Oh, yeah. And Daredevil sucks and whatnot. Movies aren't doing well, and they're poorly written, and everything's awful. Do you think they can rescue the theater's silver? Do you want to smoke weed? Will that fix it for you?
That's the only way to save at this point. It's not to make them smoking areas. No, I think it's doomed. Unless there's some miracle, like, resurgence of, like, I doubt superhero movies. I think superhero movies are done for.
Unless one of these are magically
maybe more
really
fantasy
good.
series.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll make another resurgence. Not like a Harry Potter. I'm talking like a Lord of the Rings type thing.
You mean the new Gollum? You think that'll be the new shift in movies?
No, I'm thinking of like there's got to be a new series that comes out that was as great as Lord of the Rings. But I'm thinking that superhero movies. I think they're done for. Everyone's kind of sick of them. So it's got to be something new, exciting that comes out. Maybe like a sort of fantasy or like a sci-fi. I don't know.
Well, I know Netflix is doing the new Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that is made for modern audiences and set in a modern time. Did you know that they cast the voice actor for Aslan, the Jesus allegory?
Oh.
Who'd they pick?
Yeah, who was it again?
Meryl Streep.
Oh my gosh. That's what we need. A male lion with a female voice.
Well, because screw you
Or
and
in
your
this case, it'll be
Jesus allegory.
A lioness.
So
dumb.
Okay, if I swear.
Flop hard.
I swear if it's like in the first movie and stuff, they're fleeing the city because of it's the war.
Yeah.
They're getting out of there in the very beginning.
The
I
Blitz in
swear, if they
London.
go onto a scene of, like, Ukraine, I'm gonna leave.
I know it's supposed to be
Like
modern.
modern audiences. And
So I guarantee you it's going to
Ukrainian.
be more modern. So like race swapped characters and what I guarantee you. It's going to be these brothers and sisters are all foster kids to explain why they're all like different races. Like one's white, one's Asian, one's black sort of thing.
And they're all gay.
And they're all gay. Because this is where we're going.
Instead of the professor being that old man, it's an old woman because women in STEM.
They don't understand.
don't wanna talk.
They don't. This is going to crash and burn, and it's because they don't understand the movies that they're making, and they can't
They have
write.
no idea. No.
They don't know how to write. Let's go to the news tab.
Nope.
There's so much more to go through.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
Well, everybody, it's a news dump. I'm going to go over this a little bit really quickly, much to nobody's surprise. Jennifer Salke leaving Amazon. There are now articles coming out to suggest that she didn't leave willingly. Really?
Yeah.
I
We all
kinda
knew
read
she
that,
was
yeah.
fired. I mean, honestly, you pretended like she wasn't, but she was. And
I like
according
the
to
title there,
yeah, it's not going to fix
that
it.
it won't fix Amazon's problems. Yeah.
Well, because it has they've spent huge amounts of money on massive failures, and she resided over it. And you can't, even if you replace her and put somebody new in, you can't fix the problems. It's just bad. The show was bad. And much like Wheel of Time or many of the other shows, Amazon has been a failed experiment when it comes to their own studios. Despite the billions, and that's right, billions of dollars sunk into it. But no one's surprised that Jennifer Salke was fired. We all knew this. Looks like a production studio has bought the rights to the previously shelved Wile E. Coyote and Acme movie and will be releasing it in theaters. So it looks like we're probably going to finally see this thing, despite everybody purging all Looney Tunes from the internet. Incidentally, Tubi is where you can now watch Looney Tunes. It's been moved to Tubi.
No.
We have a live action God of War coming out, Jason. 'Cause live action has been a good decision.
It can't be good.
And apparently the original showrunners have been let go and they're starting again with new ones. So it sounds like things are going well.
That's a sign I
Yeah.
wanted to see.
And I'm not a God of War guy, but I'm like, ooh, that doesn't look good. You know what's also fun?
When
Well, go ahead.
the showrunner gets fired and they have to bring in somebody new, that really boosts my confidence.
Well, there's a rumor coming out from Dexerto, the entertainment news site, that apparently they're going to skip Kratos in Greece and go right to him being in the Viking, like Scandinavian stuff.
Oh, of course.
Let's skip why Kratos is Kratos.
Yep.
And just dump him in
Now we're gonna skip right to Dad in the Woods.
Yep.
oh my gosh.
Now, not something we usually go into, which the direct politics of everything, but believe it or not, massive tariff drama has been hitting the world. And people are expecting price hikes and increases. One is Nintendo's Switch pre-orders. Switch 2 pre-orders are supposed to be starting in April. And now that's being pushed back because of uncertainty of cost. and how easy it will be to ship the Switch around the world. On top of that, apparently a lot of people are very annoyed that the Nintendo Switch is going to start at $450, which is more expensive than the previous Switch. And the first Mario Kart out the gate is going to be $80, which is now also upsetting everybody with the prices.
Yeah. It looked really good. But
now, if that hasn't upset you as before, there's worse news, Jason. Now, I've looked into it. I alluded to this news last week, and I got it all wrong. Despite the positive spin that Nintendo had, explaining that, hey, you'll be able to share games digitally, here's where the drama is. So, the cartridges that are being attached to the Switch 2, because games are so big now and they require updates immediately when you put them in, Switch 2 cartridges, a lot of them, are no longer going to strictly be the game, and they're basically what's happening is when you put in the cartridge, it allows you, it unlocks it so that you can download the game. And that they aren't actual physical copies. They call it
we don't even need cartridges.
They call it a game key cart, where it's basically a key in order to unlock your ability to download the game and play it on your Switch.
So dumb.
The game key card in the description as revealed by Nintendo this week, that denotes a specific type of Switch 2 game cartridge that doesn't include the full game installed on it. Instead, owners need to go online and download it, including first-party releases like Super Mario Party Jamboree for Switch 2. They are essentially buying a key that bypasses the DRM. They can only play the game while the cartridge is inserted, but it can be resold and shared like a physical game otherwise. For some, that's a nice compromise or better than nothing, but for others, it's the worst of both worlds. Less convenient than digital and less permanent than physical. The issue has been compounded by an apparent $10 upcharge for physical versions of some Nintendo games like Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. Awesome, Nintendo.
Why would I buy a cartridge now?
Apparently, game collectors are really annoyed by this new turn of events. And Nintendo's explanation is this is hardware reasons or whatever. And the price hike and everything is really pissed off everybody. We're getting an extra charge on top of everything with an $80 Mario Kart. And potential tariff woes down the road. So look forward to that. Anybody looking forward to the Nintendo Switch 2?
Not anymore.
So apparently everybody on the internet is praising that let me find that. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a massive hit because they're claiming something like 3 million sales or 3 million whatever players. But the problem is players doesn't mean sales. And we won't actually have the actual accurate sales until like March. So 3 million players doesn't mean actual March of this year. So yeah, we don't even know for sure how many sales they've had.
We are in April.
It's April.
Well, then May, I don't know.
See, we talked about this a little bit already, and one of the things that to me just kind of undermines the whole we have 3 million players is that the player count on
Steam is very low.
Is very low, which means that they have to have like 2.5 let's see, 2.94 million players on every other avenue. And I just don't see it.
There are only 18,000 people playing it right now, and it peaked at 64, so it hasn't beaten. It was pretty much 64 last week when we looked into it.
Yeah. And so that means that we have 2.9 at the peak, like 2.94 million players on Xbox, on PlayStation, on whatever other source that you could play it on that's not Steam. And Steam only had 64, so there's no way they have 3 million players.
If you were doing as good as you claimed you were, you wouldn't have sold part of your company to China.
Yeah.
You know what, also? If you were doing as well as you said you were, you wouldn't be closing down some of your offices like Ubisoft Leamington. Because of quote-unquote layoff accelerates and Tencent restructuring. This tells me your company's doing really well and has a game that sold 3 million copies. Or do you just accept everything that's told to you right out the get-go? Every superficial bit of information. Yeah, that's accurate. That's true. Apparently, Sony is distancing itself from Sweet Baby Inc. They are canceling several projects with Sweet Baby Inc. agreements attached to them. Not surprising, they become a pariah in the gaming community.
Yeah.
Another fun article. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge, believe it or not, received a $100 million deal with Amazon to produce the Tomb Raider show. And they've got nothing from her. So
she's done absolutely nothing. And I like what that said right there. And they've renewed it.
Well, they actually renewed a deal. The deal is dumber now. They gave her $20 million for non-exclusive. It was something like, let's see, non-exclusive first refusal rights. So essentially, if she makes anything, Amazon gets to look at it first. Why are they throwing so much money at somebody who's produced nothing and has mediocre success? It's one of those things in Hollywood where it's like, this is our big up-and-comer, let's all flood to give them money, hoping we can write it when there's no indication that this is going to continue at all. Or she's produced anything. No. She had one show that was critically successful, not widely successful, called Fleabag. She helped write the bad Indiana Jones, and she was in the bad Indiana Jones that lost huge amounts of money. She helped write the really bad James Bond movie that everybody hated, where they killed James Bond and replaced him with a woman. What makes you think she's worth $100 million? What kind of delusion are people under? She sucks. Phoebe Waller-Bridge sucks. And the fact that not only did you pay her...
They should be suing her right now. They should be suing her for breach of contract right now.
Well, that's what's so stupid. They give her $100 million and she's produced nothing. Not a single show, not a film, nothing. And she was supposed to be working on the Tomb Raider.
Yep. This is not time to give more money to this person. This is time to pull that person into court and say, you give us back $100 million.
Well, it's because Hollywood is stupid. They don't know what they're doing.
Damage.
She can't produce anything worth a darn. And you're why I hate Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Apparently, because of how badly Snow White is done, it has thrown off. They either canceled or set it back the live action Tangled because of how bad Snow White is done.
Wow.
So it is having cascading effects on the industry. Yay. Oh, another news, Snow White is a massive bomb. We can't spin it any longer. Supposed to be major 2025 tentpole. Yeah, nobody's surprised. It opened at a number 19 in the box. Let's see. Kids albums number 11, soundtracks number 19. Yeah, it's not doing well, and everybody could have predicted this. Everybody screamed at the heavens, "You're going to lose money. You're ruining things we love." But, whatever. Snow White was expected. What do you have, Jason?
So I came across this article. I'm hoping it came out on April 1st. So I'm hoping beyond hope that this is just an April Fool's joke, but unfortunately that's not necessarily something that you can trust anymore. But apparently they're doing a new AI to they're going to train it on Tolkien's writings so that it will be able to pump out more stuff from Tolkien. Like I said, it came out on the April 1st, but with what happens with everything, I'm just praying that this is an April Fool's joke. But I can't for one say definitely this is not something that they're actually trying to do, because I can just see the Tolkien estate going, here's dollar signs in their eyes, and they just decide that they can pump out more stuff.
This is the tip universe. This is the tip of the AI iceberg.
Yeah.
They already have AI that could do programming for you. It's not perfect, so you still need to know enough about programming, because they're starting to use AI for mods to be able to make mods for them for certain games and stuff. But eventually it'll get good. It'll get better.
I talked to a lady who works at Cisco, and she said that with their entry level programmers, they've been having a huge problem with them because they rely so much on AI to do their job that if the AI can't do their job, they can't either.
Well, right. Much like everything, early AI programming is having problems. And the only way to use it as sort of a baseline, but you have to know enough to be able to fix it when there are issues in the code. That being said, this is temporary. It will eventually replace people.
Yeah.
Because it'll get better. And it'll understand how to do the code better. Like, we're all talking about it now, like, your job's still secure. If you know enough about programming, you can still write it yourself, or at least know how to fix AI programming. And that newer generations just can't handle. I mean, I'm not surprised by that story. Can't handle the direction that AI is going. And they don't know how to do things on their own. And everything they're just doing is using AI to replace it. But eventually they'll just do your job and they'll fire those entry-level people. It'll just, AI just will entirely replace them. So if that's what you want, this is the direction you're going. I mean, the fact that they're using AI to write new Tolkien scripts, first of all, it's dishonoring the original author. He would have hated this. Yeah. This is not what he wants. But, Jason, it'll be worse. I can see a future where you can just type in, give me a movie about Batman fighting Superman with Harley Quinn in the style of this, and they can just produce it, and you can cater every interest you have to immediate sort of like, you could just do this movie and it'll make it for you. Like,
and it'll be crap.
You assume. It will get to the point where it will facsimile things so well, it'll be just as good. And it'll replace things like art and creativity and writing.
It's already doing that.
Well, you're Here's your big flaw, Jason. You're seeing it as, oh, we're starting to do this, and it's not as good. It will be better. It will be as good, and it will replace everything.
Here's the thing. I'm not looking at it from the perspective. Yes, there are certain things where, like I have done some AI art generation, and it's like it created a character and they have like 10 fingers on one hand. It's like, yeah, that's just wrong. But if you're doing, let's say, we're going to have this movie that is going to be Batman versus Superman with Harley Quinn, and do it in the style of Batman the animated series. It's still going to be crap because it's Batman versus Superman.
No,
And
it won't.
That's going to
You once again, you lack the ability to understand where this is going. It will be able to fake it better than you could possibly imagine. And it'll happen very quick. But Jason, you're thinking about it like it's today. I'm talking will make 2-hour movies a few years from now that will be just as good as the shit that's coming out right now. You don't
exactly. And that's garbage. The stuff that's coming out right now is garbage, and they're not even using AI for it.
Well, once again,
just because they can shortcut it with AI doesn't mean that the quality will improve. And I'm not really talking about the quality. I'm talking about the idea behind it.
Once again, you still don't get it. And just you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you. It will be good. You're basing this off of the assumption that somehow it will never replace human creators and writers. It will be able to replace them.
I'm basing it on the fact that I would never want to see that.
That's not the point.
Even if it was good.
That's not the point.
But my point is that for me, that will be garbage.
That doesn't matter. I don't care what your opinion is that you don't like it was made by computer. That doesn't mean shit to me.
It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. Even if this was something that was done by a genius at Hollywood, I still wouldn't want it.
That doesn't mean anything. What the hell are you talking about? Once again, you're not listening. I don't give a shit, Jason. You're not listening to me. I don't care if you don't like the idea of AI. I'm telling you it will be just as good, if not better, than what can be produced today. I don't care if you don't like it simply on principle. I don't care if you don't like it on principle. Because you're starting out this discussion by saying, I don't like it, it's going to be terrible. It's not going to be terrible. You cannot like it, but it's not going to be terrible. You think this is producing an image with AI where it's going to have 6 fingers. It is going to be, I've already seen videos of things looking so lifelike it looks like a camera. Like just normal people walking around.
I've seen that too.
And it is going to be better and better at facsimiling actual writing. You can actually have an AI produce Tolkien so well that it will be undistinguishable from actual Tolkien because it will be able to analyze all of his stories previously. And at first it's going to suck.
Yes.
It's not going to be able to repeat the content, but eventually get to the point where it's so good, it might as well be Tolkien writing it. Now, morally, we can have an issue with, I don't like that AI is creating art because it's not art anymore. It's not creating anything because art is a human experience. We can have the discussion of it's soulless crap that we're producing content out of thin air to cater to personal needs, and how is this going to relate to not just media consumption, where we're just producing art to fit our personal wants and desires. We're no longer experiencing some sort of cultural. It's like if I make a movie that turns out it just type in a prompt and it creates this dramatic movie that's got all this emotional and the heart to it, and it's AI created. It also eliminates this aspect of like art is sort of collectively experienced. And now, instead of everybody having sort of relatable culture where we all experience similar movies and music and art and whatnot. We're now just catering to sort of personal narcissistic needs. It's going to be just as good as anything we could possibly think of. And I'm going to hate that it's doing it, because it's going to piss me off that it's now eliminate the self-expression and artistic appeal that art simply has. But it's coming whether we want it or not. Now, I get you don't like it, and I get that you think it's crap because it's made by AI, but that doesn't mean it's going to be crap quality-wise, because it'll probably be amazing.
Yeah, I agree with you that way, but I'm also considering the soul of the project. And
Yes,
like you
that
said,
that is an
it's not gonna be
interesting
there.
discussion to have. It'll have no soul. It'll simply be recreating a facsimile of a soul,
Yeah.
but it'll
I
look
did
very
come across
realistic.
an article. I did come across an article recently that said an AI beat the Turing test. So
It'll fake Turing test. Those are no longer going to be a difficult situation. Are you scared of the new AI future, Silver?
Yeah. Have you ever heard? That reminds me. Have you ever heard of the AI thing that I forget how it was set up or who did it, but somehow it was going through things and it came across one of those CAPTCHA tests, and it couldn't do the CAPTCHA test, and it ended up like emailing someone and being like, "Hey, I'm a person with vision issues. Could you help me with this CAPTCHA test?" I don't know how it worked, but yeah, that's freaky.
I know campuses have been plagued with essays being written by AI, and a lot of them are getting through because they're written very well, like better than average people can write essays.
Yeah.
And it'll just get worse.
They try to have like AI detector things for patterns that AI typically does, but it's getting past that. It's hilarious.
Yeah. It'll get worse and worse to the point now where essays will be produced that are just better than anything the average person can write. And it's like, but you're defeating the point of learning about writing.
I know, it's like, how much dumber is the population going to get because of this?
Oh, much dumber. It's like with programming. It'll get to the point where AI will be able to do the programming, and if there's an issue, we won't know how to fix it because we don't know how to program anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it'll just start replacing jobs wholesale. It'll make soulless art, which is very true, Jason. We will have soulless, terrible art, but it'll look very close to art that does have a soul and be very accurate.
yeah,
It'll probably be very good. And it's like, what kind of world are we creating? A world without art. Like, imagine all those douchey hippies that will lack the capacity to understand that making really bad paintings is no longer viable because the computer can do better.
yeah.
Is it like the stuff, like the people on Facebook who see a thing that's AI generated, usually older people, and they're like, "Look! See?"
I went through a stint a while back where I was listening to a bunch of rock and roll that was like mediocre garage rock and roll that sounds like it has bad audio with bad tuning in a garage, because it felt so much more authentic to me, and like the songs were good. It's just that, like, the grittier feel to it. But the thing is, AI could recreate that too, so I don't know what to tell you.
Oh yeah.
So it's all gonna suck. It's all gonna suck. I think our disagreement, Jason, was that you were phrasing it as it's gonna be crap, as in I'm not gonna like it, which is probably where the difference was.
Yeah, probably. I'm expressing my opinion that I'm going to find it crap because it's going to be a soulless imitation.
Yes.
Of something that has a soul.
I think the
Not
descriptives
necessarily
were.
it's going to be crap in quality.
I think the descriptive word you were using implied, well, it's going to suck. And it's like, well, that implies it's not going to be good. And it will be good. You just won't like what it's producing.
Yeah.
The idea of it sucks.
The idea of it sucks. Oh, I heard about the story with John Boyega.
Well, not even necessarily the idea of it sucking. It's just that like I said, it's like if I want to now, I can tell AI to paint me a picture that is done in the style of Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, and it's just going to be just as good. But it's it didn't have somebody exerting creativity to create it. It's just following an algorithm.
And it'll redefine like art, like what does art mean anymore if it's so indistinguishable from the original. And in a weird way, it's almost stealing the spirit of the previous artist, because it'll recreate it so perfectly that it'll look like something the artist could have made.
Yeah.
So it's a soulless theft of something that came before. Like there are a lot of industries that are in trouble, like a serious trouble.
Yeah.
We got a John Boyega story.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of an old thing. I mean, obviously, John Boyega being in Star Wars it's been years. And if this, I don't want to say if, I want to say if what is on here is true to his experience, then I feel bad that fans of Star Wars did this. But at the same time, he's like, apparently because he was black, he faced backlash because the franchise is so white. And that's in his words. The franchise is so white. Now he may have had some racist comments on his instant messages and all that stuff, but I think that what's her name, Rose Tico, had somewhat similar happen to her. I don't know, but apparently
they more hated her character as opposed to the actress personally.
Well, right. But according to him, he was I'm the only cast member who had their own unique experience of that franchise based on their race.
Oh, get over yourself. Do you know what heals those wounds? The money.
Money?
Muns.
It couldn't have possibly been that people were frustrated with the fact that the franchise was going in what they felt was a mistaken direction, and they were lashing out at you and unfortunately using race as a means of lashing out.
There were reasonable discussions about the fact that everybody thought at the time that if stormtroopers were perhaps clones and that it hadn't changed in the lore, that everybody was confused as to why this person was black when they should look like a New Zealander. Yeah, like a clone of the other guy. So there was a lot of questions as to what the hell is going on. Now, if you knew a lot about the lore, they went into recruiting and stuff, but your normie that watches the shows doesn't understand that. And then everybody expected him to be the Jedi, which we were all kind of into. And he didn't end up being. He was replaced by the girl who was overpowered and awkward. Like, how pathetic for you to be in a massive multi-million-dollar franchise and earn huge amounts of money. How sad. It reminds me of this interview that Harrison Ford had, where somebody was asking him about how embarrassing it was to pretend to be the Hulk and do a lot of screaming and jumping around, and how difficult it is to get over the embarrassment of all of that. And he's like, well, that's what the money's for.
Thank you, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, because Harrison Ford has zero filter, and he's like, that's why they give me the money, so I could do embarrassing things, and it makes it worth it. You know what, John Boyega, you know what you ended up doing? Really bad movies other than Star Wars. You went and did Pacific Rim and it sucked. You know what you also did? You got cucked hard in The Woman King, and a story about a slaver tribe in Africa. And they rewrote it to pretend that they were fighting against slavers, but they were slavers. Yeah, you did that movie.
Hardcore.
Does that make you feel proud? Where you attach yourself to a movie where you were a king of a tribe that was enslaving other Africans? Does that make you feel proud? Huh? Huh, little man? Did the money make up for that? Huh? That's just pathetic. Get over yourself. Guess what? There were a lot of black people in Star Wars in major roles. Lando Calrissian ran a planet. He destroyed the second Death Star. He originally owned the Millennium Falcon. He's very charming and witty. Lando Calrissian is awesome. Hey, guess what? Mace Windu was one of the most powerful Jedis ever. He had a purple lightsaber and fought in the Clone Wars. Everybody loves Mace Windu. He's awesome. But no, you have to have a chip on your shoulder because those movies sucked and your character was lame. Well, guess what? You know what the magic salve for those feelings are? The money. And you know what we learned down the road? You kind of suck as an actor. Suck my balls, John Boyega. Let's move on. Oh, what's our next story?
Yeah, so I've never heard of this dude. Apparently he's doing a book called The Book of Elsewhere. No. He wrote The Book of Elsewhere with Keanu Reeves. But he also came out with a novel called Perdido Street Station. That's a science fiction fantasy horror novel. Anyway, apparently he thinks it's a mistake to read science fiction as if it's really about the future. It's always about now. It's always a reflection. It's kind of a fever dream, and it's always about its own sociological context. The thing is that his real beef is that these people who are futurists, who try to envision the next big thing to really like propel people forward, like they're talking about quantum computing, and they're we have cell phones and all this technology, and a lot of it has come from science fiction writing in the past. The sci-fi writers, they come up with some grand idea, and then the futurists, they try to create it. They're like, yeah, I really want that in my life. We had the Star Trek communicators, and now we have cell phones that looked exactly like the Star Trek communicators. And he's like, it's a mistake to do that kind of stuff. Like, what kind of moron are you? Of course, he said, let's not blame science fiction for this. It's not science fiction that's causing this kind of sociopathy. I'm like,
So he's implying that science fiction is having a retroactive effect where we're trying to create the world that we see in science fiction?
Or maybe not trying to create. He added that there's a societal and personal derangement at work when rich and powerful are more interested in settling Mars than sorting out the world. But ultimately, it's not science fiction that's responsible.
Are you just angry at Elon Musk? Like, what's the point here?
Apparently, he's angry at like these tech giants that instead of trying to fix society's woes are trying to create new technology to advance humankind.
But that helps society.
And yeah. Exactly.
What's your point?
My point is that
well, I mean the general, like, what's his point?
Yeah, his point, I have no idea. I think that his point is that he's like a socialist, and he really wants these people, instead of trying to create new technology to fix problem, or to push boundaries of science and technology, that he wants them to, like, I don't know, fix society instead.
Fix society in what
really
way?
Missing the point. and probably in the way that he wants society to be. That's
Well,
usually
see,
what
that's the
these people
problem.
are on about.
What do you mean sorting out the... Yes, I'm just trying to... Let's not blame science fiction for this. It's not science fiction, it's kind of sociopathy. So they're dreamers and he's pissed about it?
Apparently.
What kind of loser? Look, champ. It's so easy for you to sit there and be like, well, we need to fix this planet. Guess what? This planet has a lot of problems. That's true. You know what we've been trying to do? Fix them for all of our human existence. And you know what has helped propel humanity forward? Dreaming toward what could be and not dwelling and being like wallowing in what is. The dreamers are what advanced technology. Sitting here going, we need to fix our society, which opens up a whole new, in what way? How? Is it? Do you mean fix our society in a way that you want it to be fixed, or in a way that it needs to be fixed, or who gets to decide that? Or it's like a cause. We've been discussing how society should be structured for all of our existence, and have been slowly trying to shift it. Guess what? We had an attempt to rewrite society, to create a whole new type of society multiple times, and it's usually resulted in mass murder and death. So guess what? People who dream about what could be are the ones who invent things. That's how we get trains and the ability to fly. And the ability to make electricity. It was the dreamers that created some electricity and heat, so we're not all wallowing, burning cow dung, and hoping we don't starve to death or freeze to death. Those people are what advance society.
Yeah, it's because of the dreamers that you get to opine about the fact that dreamers aren't fixing society.
Instead of sitting here wallowing in, we need to fix society and then make stuff slightly better, and then he's looking at, and I'm not necessarily a big Musk fan, but I love the dreaming towards Mars, and he's looking at Mars and going, I want to make a society that's better than us, as opposed to society that's regressed in some weird way. Like, how stupid are your opinions on this? Yeah, it's bullshit. Yeah.
Yep. It's garbage.
All right, bro.
It's yet one more thing where people are missing the point. Okay, next one. Apparently, Venom, they just cannot figure out what to do with this guy because he has a new host. Yeah. Originally, it was Eddie Brock, and then it jumped around a bit, and then it was Eddie's son. And
as much like comics do, they've ruined it. They've ruined the character.
Yep. The new host is Mary Jane.
Yeah, this is stupid. This is not.
I like that there, Silver.
This is not the first time they've done a girl as a host.
No, they've done a girl as a host before.
Mary Jane?
No, Mary Jane's never been a Venom's host. And one of the things that they've always done when a woman was Venom's host is they made her look like a woman. But no, this is big buff Venom, but Mary Jane inside. So totally looks like a dude, totally looks like Eddie Brock or whatever, but MJ is inside.
In the Ultimate Comics, Carnage was Gwen Stacy.
Yes.
Who actually came back to life after being murdered.
This is yet another sign that Marvel has really gone off the rails. They don't know what to do with Venom. They don't know what to do with MJ because
they don't know what to do with Spider-Man.
Yeah. They're just really directionless. And this is just another attempt. I mean, the thing is it says it's a genius move. It's like, no, it's not a genius move.
No, this is the dumbest, easiest, low hanging fruit. One of
Yeah.
the heads in Marvel implied that after they broke up Spider-Man and MJ again, that Spider-Man should never be married. And I was like, what? Why?
Just
Well,
because
it was a
you
mistake.
can't get a girl in real life doesn't mean that Spider-Man shouldn't have a girlfriend, wife.
Well, just his vision of the character and it's like, well, then write a better story. This is the biggest problem with comics. They're great, and then they ruin it because they always have these little gimmicky things. It's the problem that we're seeing in the movies. It's like, oh, everything's stagnating and all of our stories suck and nobody likes it. We're going to come out with a big event that'll be really dramatic, that'll draw everybody in with the new Doomsday thing. And they do this in Marvel constantly. It used to be one a year you would have a big world-changing event, and then it became almost every month because it sort of attracted. Because when a big movie comes out or a big comic event, you need to read it. But it happens so often that it's lost. It's like, oh, you just almost destroyed the world last month. Like, how am I supposed to? And that's what these gimmicks are. They're meant to sell comics. The reason why you have a female Thor isn't because it makes sense in the comics or in the lore. It's to sell comics because everybody either gets annoyed or excited, and then they rush to buy those comics. But after that gleam goes away and they're like, oh, it's just bad, then people stop buying it. And that's what happens with like a Venom Mary Jane. Everybody rushes to, it's like, oh my gosh, the Mary Jane, but it's like you've ruined. It's like the Boy Who Cried Wolf thing. You can only get me excited for a new dramatic story so often until it all just sounds like garbage. And this just sounds like garbage.
Yep. It just smacks of desperation. They're like, we have no idea what we're trying to do here, so we're just going to throw everything we can think of at the wall and hope something sticks.
Yeah, they don't. They don't know what
we're creatively bankrupt over here, and we're just going to keep doing desperate moves until something finally works. Give the fans what they want. Put Spider-Man and MJ back together in a stable relationship. Make MJ once again a supporting character to Spider-Man.
No, you know what they did? They had them break up, and then in this new world, Mary Jane is married to another guy, and Peter Parker just has to live with it.
His name is Paul, and apparently all the comic book fans hate him.
They all hate him.
Yep.
Not surprising. What do we got, Jason?
So last one here, I mentioned it a little bit earlier because you had pulled up the list of movies, and it mentioned in there that they had announced the How to Train Your Dragon. Apparently, according to Screen Rant here, it helps put an end to the live action remake controversy. Personally, I don't see that. The thing is they're like,
what, because they say it looks good?
There's all these things because How to Train Your Dragons 2, it means that Universal believes in the live action movie's success despite casting, CGI, and story complaints. So in the face of the casting complaints, in the face of the CGI and the story complaints, and you know what? They could totally make money. This is yet another one where I hope they don't, because I think this is a bad trend and they need to get off of it. Not because I think that I just don't like the live action remake stuff. It's like we've already got something good that came out as a cartoon. Make something good. Make something new. Don't give me the same stuff. If I want that, I'll go back and watch back and watch the cartoon. But again, they're totally they're totally creatively bankrupt, and all they have left is this kind of crap. So I don't see that it puts to rest any of the controversy. I just think it heightens it. They're just doubling down on it and saying, yeah, we are going to get through here regardless of what you guys say, do, whatever. So
agree. Yeah. I mean, I was never a huge How to Train Your Dragon. I thought they were okay animated movies, but I have no hype for the new one.
Yeah.
We do have fight night. We are running long. Do we want to hold
Yeah.
it till Ross is here, or?
We can, yeah. Let's do that since he's not here. It'd be good to have his input.
All right, Silver. Well, why don't you tell us something before we get out of here? What's going on? What do you think about? What you thinking about, bro?
Crises.
Oh yeah, go on.
I don't know. Nothing interesting.
I think that's the feeling most people have
My
with what
brain
they're
is breaking.
seeing in movies down the line, where they're just like, I don't. Remember when you used to get like excited about a movie coming out?
Oh yeah.
What was the
Too
last?
long ago.
What was the last movie you were excited about?
I think the last movie that I was excited about was the Force Awakens.
Okay, that was a while ago then.
Yeah.
New Top
and then
Gun.
after that, I wasn't excited for any of the Star Wars movies.
Ooh, a new Top Gun.
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick. The last one I can recall being like, oh yeah, that's gonna be good. And it was. And that was the last one.
Joker 2 for me, and it wasn't good.
That's so sad.
Yeah, I was genuinely excited because I love the first one. And then the second one actually damages the first movie. Believe it or not, the first movie's worse with the existence of the second film.
yeah.
It becomes worse.
Yeah, well, the movie recontextualizes the first one and makes it dumber. So it actually retroactively damages the first movie. Yeah, and it's awful.
If you're curious about details with that, go watch Rhett and Ross's review.
Yeah, where we complain about it. It's a very fresh review. I think we recorded it like the day of or the day after the movie. It was super exciting. I remember being excited for Force Awakens and then being really disappointed afterwards.
So sad.
Yeah.
Jurassic World, I think I was excited for, not terribly excited for, but kind of excited for, and I quite liked the first one. I hated the second and the third one. Yeah, the first one was fun. Gosh, movies suck now. I mean, there are some prestige TV shows that I've seen lately that are pretty good, but by and large, movies. The Tetris movie from Apple, that's a really good movie. Yeah, you should see the Tetris movie. It's the fascinating story behind the fight for control over who has the rights to Tetris.
Really?
Yeah, it involves like car chases and the KGB, and it's a crazy story.
That's insane.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the funny part about the rights to Tetris. Because it's the Soviet Union, you don't actually own the rights to your personal property if you make something like that. So the Soviet Union owns the rights to it. So there was a lot of meandering as to who got to control who owned the rights to what. And people were signing off rights to stuff without actually like really stating fully. And then there was this guy in the KGB that was trying to manipulate stuff so that he could get a big payday because it was near the end of the Soviet Union. So there was expectations of everybody's got to get their own, bit of money. And it's a really crazy story. It's really good. It resulted in the...
You don't destroy Rosa blocks. We destroyed the blocks, Conrad.
It resulted in the collapse of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, an English corporation.
Wow.
Yeah. and Nintendo slipping in and getting some of the rights in the meantime. And it was an American that sort of meandered a lot of it. Really interesting story. I would recommend the Tetris movie on Apple TV. And also, I really like Greyhound, and that's a very dad movie to like.
When you said Tetris movie, I was sitting there thinking, oh, what, like the Battleship movie?
No, I'm not talking like a Pixels or whatever.
I'm so glad.
What, where they were trapped inside a bubble with alien spaceships and they had to guess where they were by shooting at them? Rihanna's in that. And so was Taylor Kitsch. Taylor Kitsch, who they attempted to give him multiple massive multi-million-dollar movies and kept failing at. Despite the fact that he made John Carter, and John Carter is actually really good. I like it.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
It was one of the worst performing movies Disney has ever made up to that point.
Yes.
Part of the reason is they didn't advertise it well, and part of the reason was they call it John Carter, where they should have called it John Carter on the Moon, or was it John Carter of Mars, or they called it the Princess of Mars or something. But instead, everyone's like, "What's John Carter?" That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, nobody knew what that was,
dude.
Unless they were hardcore
Edgar Rice Burroughs readers.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, the funny is the
They
original
all
book.
looked at that title. It said never trust a man with two first names.
That's right.
Left.
And the original book is actually really dirty. It's like really violent, and there's a lot of nudity in it. And so even then, that might scare you off because you're like, "Oh, is this like a rated R film?" No, I really like that. I really like that movie, and it sucks that we're never going to get a second one. Do you know who the director of it was?
Not off the top of my head. I did at one point, but
I forget his name, but he did direct Finding Nemo and WALL-E.
yeah.
Yeah. Looks like he knows what he's doing. Anyway, we're dragging our feet. Expect stupid arguments about weird people having fights next week. It's been an exciting podcast. Episode 61. Time to wrap it up. We're going to get out of here. Thanks for coming by. Podcast outro, go!
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.